Einen schönen guten Tag, hier ist die Gamescom in Köln 2016. Wir sitzen hier oben in unserem kleinen, aber heißen, schnuckligen Büro und ich habe die große Ehre und Freude, einen netten jungen, nice one and young man, einen netten jungen Mann hier begrüßen zu dürfen, Chuck, und ich hoffe, ich spreche es jetzt richtig aus, O'Shea.
Close enough.
Close enough. Chuck O'Shea, he is the creative director, von Gears of War. Ich versuche jetzt hier so ein bisschen zwischen Englisch und Deutsch hin und her zu switchen. Chuck, you are, I said to the German viewers, you are the creative director for Gears of War 4.
That's correct.
And I would say, a high animal, no, this is the German phrase. No, a very high number in a company called The Coalition, the new company that developed Gears of War 4 after
correct.
Epic Games.
Right, we're in Vancouver, Canada.
In Vancouver, Canada. Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
Never been to Canada.
Come visit us.
Yeah, I will.
Daniel, there's always a spot for you there.
This is nice. This is really nice. I've never been to Canada, and I really try to get there.
You're lying to me, but that's okay.
No.
Still an open invitation.
Vancouver.
Yes.
Vancouver. I heard a lot about Vancouver. It's a nice city.
It's a beautiful city.
But it has also a little bit of darker history.
Does it?
Yeah.
I don't know about that dark history.
But it's from some pop culture I learned from Germany.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean it's right.
So, you created Gears of War 4.
Me and a lot of other people, yes.
After 4 installments, they switched the studio, and you are now responsible in full charge for everything what comes along the way and will hopefully satisfy all the fans of the Gears of War franchise.
So, yeah.
First question, before we start or before we show something from the game, what was your first approach when someone came up and said, hey, we want to make Gears of War 4 with your studio? What was the first thing that comes to your mind and was the inspiration to create this 4th installment of the series?
Well, the first thing was don't screw it up. I mean, you have an iconic franchise in Gears of War, right? When you talk to people about what are the biggest franchises that they think of, I mean, it's probably in the top 10 of the most iconic franchises of all time. So that's a huge responsibility for us. And at the Coalition, it was really important for us to make sure that we built a game that Gears fans loved. And first thing they said to us is, this feels like Gears of War. So for us, that's the first thing we started with, is how do we make a game that feels like Gears of War, and then how do we change it to make it different and better? And
can you say how long or how many time did you spend for the creation now, or for the?
Yeah, it'll be just about 3 years by the time we launch. Yeah.
And was it already when, I guess, the last installment, Judgment, was out there, or?
Well, Judgment had been out for a couple of years, and then Epic had decided they didn't want to do Gears of War anymore. So Microsoft asked them if they were willing to sell the IP, and they were. And because Microsoft loves the franchise and has always wanted to continue doing it, so we acquired the franchise from Epic, and then the Coalition got the franchise, and now we're the ones building it going forward. So.
Okay, then before we start and say something about the game,
sure,
about the mechanics, and also the story. I'm very interested in the story. Let's have a look at the...
Let's do.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what it looks like. Let's see.
At the special Gamescom trailer. Okay, dann 3, 2, 1 und Start. Vollbild ist doch Vollbild. Nein, ist nicht Vollbild. Ich bin so blöd. So.
Xbox One S, starting at $299.
Oh, that's exciting. It's good stuff, isn't it?
It looks like a lot of a bloody mess, I would say.
It is. That's what Gears is all about. Intimate violence. We like to get it up close and personal.
But, okay, we saw just 30 seconds of scenes,
yeah,
you know. But the first thing I realized was the chainsaw is not that important anymore, or you have some different kind of a knife.
Yeah.
And what was this kind of gun who crumbles the head of one creature?
Well, you jumped in a lot of different spots there. So the chainsaw is still very important. It's an iconic weapon in Gears. I think it's one of the only video game weapons that's actually in the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. So it's very, very iconic. But we also wanted to move gameplay forward, so we did things like the yank and shank, which is a new move that you can do across cover. So when you saw the guy doing the combat knife attack, that's because he yanked a guy over cover, and that opens him up to a combat knife attack, which is an execution move. You can also do that by vaulting over cover and kicking an enemy and opening him up and then stabbing him. And then the thing that you're talking about, which you shoot the guy, that's the execution for the drop shot weapon. So the drop shot weapon is a weapon that shoots out a projectile across the map, and when you let go of the trigger, it shoots straight down and then explodes. So when you're out of ammo, or if you want to execute a guy, you can actually pick up the guy, just like the projectile, and then shoot him across the screen. So yeah, it's a fun execution.
It's a fun execution, okay. But this means violence is still a big thing, or bloody, I would say some over-the-top violence.
Right, but that's what Gears has always been about. It hasn't been about realistic violence. It hasn't been about realistic gore. It's not about chainsawing an enemy and having the chainsaw catch on every bone and seeing everything inside of him. It's always been over the top. So when you do something like that, you get the same reaction that you had, which is you giggle, right? Because it's funny. It's so absurd that it's actually fun to play, and that's what Gears has always been about when we talk about intimate violence. It's about getting it up close and personal, but making it so you feel good about it as opposed to not feeling good about it.
Yeah, but if you, for example, jump over something you hide behind, you lose your security, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something you? Yeah, I would say if I jump over a wall to kick somebody's ass or kick him in the face, you can kick him in the face, or stab him with a knife. I'm open to the fire for everybody else, huh?
You are, but what you have is you have a counter move, right? So if you vault over the piece of cover and you kick me, I have a second to be able to hit my B button and reverse it on you. So I actually reverse you, and then I open you up for a combat knife. So all those moves that you saw are reversible by the player who's taking that. So in multiplayer games, it's completely even. We don't want to make it so the person who initiates it is the only one who gets the results out of it. So if you're quick on the button, you can reverse that around and then take care of the enemy.
Okay, this sounds fair.
Yeah, that's what we try and do.
Okay, but then let's have a word about the story.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, it will happen after the already known Gears of War.
Yeah, 25 years after the end of Gears of War 3.
And it's J.D. Phoenix.
Right, that's correct.
It's the son of Marcus Phoenix.
Yes.
Okay. Can you go in a little bit into detail? How does it come that he is someone who has to join the fight and get back and do what his father already did for a long time?
Yeah, it's an interesting story because, part of the reason why we moved it 25 years in the future was a couple of reasons. One, because Gears of War has never told the story of Emergence Day, of when somebody sees the enemies for the first time. When Gears of War 1 started, it started 14 years into the fight. So everybody in the game knew what a Brumac was, they knew what a Boomer was, or a Corpser, and they knew what was going to happen when they saw them. In this case, it's about one night on the wilds of Sarah with JD, Kate, and Del when they discover the swarm for the very first time. And when the swarm attacks the outsider village that JD lives in, and they start stealing people from the village, they need to find somebody who can help. And the best person to help is Marcus Phoenix, even though JD is reluctant to go and ask his dad for help, because it's like being, I guess my example would be, it's like being the son of Lionel Messi. Okay. How do you live up to that, right? And so JD is trying to make his own way, and he's trying to get out of the shadow of his father, but yet it keeps drawing him back in, and now they have to deal with this conflict that the two of them have, as well as fight this new enemy.
But it plays 25 years after the last one.
Correct.
And how old is Marcus then? Already?
He's in his 60s.
In his 60s.
Yeah.
But
that's not that old. I'm getting close to there. So
as far as I can say it from the trailer, he will join back the fight.
He will.
He will.
He does, yeah.
So you have your two comrades.
Mm-hmm.
you can play with 3 players, then
you play 2-player co-op.
2-player co-op?
Right, and when you play as co-op, the main player plays as JD, and the other player plays as either Kate or Dell. And their stories change slightly differently based on who you play.
But why only 2 players?
Because when you design like Gears of War 3 as 4-player co-op, it really changes the way you have to create the encounters. It becomes very, very challenging to design around that, because when you have 4 players in the squad with 4 players playing, if my character is saying everything all the time we go to a cinematic, it becomes boring for you, right? So with 2 players, you can have more interaction between the characters, and it doesn't have to feel like it's even between all 4 characters. When you make 4-player co-op, you need everybody to feel like they're participating at the same level, or else it becomes less interesting for those players. So because it's our first Gears of War game, we thought, let's go back to what Gears of War 1 and Gears of War 2 did, do 2-player split-screen co-op, and then if we decide to add additional players later on, we can always do that.
So I can play split screen on the couch?
Of course. You and I can play together on the couch right here, split screen.
Would be nice.
You can also play cross-play. So if you have a PC rig and I have an Xbox One, when you buy Gears of War digitally on either Xbox One or PC, you get the other version for free. So you and I can you can sit at your desktop, and I can sit on the couch, and we can play any of the cooperative modes together. So we can play campaign, we can play horde mode, or we can play co-op versus bots in versus play.
And the co-op play, does it also maybe it's not the right word, but does it also have influence on the cutscenes then?
Yes.
If you are playing the girl, for example, then you will see it from her perspective?
Well, you'll get some different aspects of the story that you wouldn't get if you were playing as Dell or if you were playing a single player.
Okay. I have to check the clock, because I have to make a short announcement.
Okay.
Ihr lieben Leute, bitte nicht wundern. Wir gehen jetzt gleich mal kurz in eine Pause, beziehungsweise gleich geht's hier bei uns auf dem Livestream mit einer anderen Geschichte weiter. Da wird nämlich noch bei uns am Stand schön gezockt, soweit ich das in Erinnerung habe. Aber wir werden hier dieses Interview natürlich zu Ende führen und werden hier noch ein bisschen kurz über Gears of War 4 reden. Aber ihr werdet natürlich das gesamte Interview dann auf YouTube oder vielleicht heute Abend nochmal irgendwo im Stream ganz schauen können. So, und I will prepare now the second trailer you brought us.
Great.
And I hope we can chat or fill the time with 2 minutes.
I hope so too.
And to start with the new trailer after we come back after the break. Okay, this should be now ready. No. Yeah, the internet is very slow
stopped
here.
Downloading.
Yeah.
It's only 84 kilobytes.
Okay.
That's not big enough.
Dann, ja. Dann gehen wir jetzt mal kurz an den Stand ab und mit weiterem Live-Programm hier, und ich werde noch mit Chuck ein bisschen weiterreden, und das seht ihr dann später auf YouTube oder halt eben nochmal kurz vielleicht im Stream in der Wiederholung oder so. Bis gleich.